How's everybody doing tonight? Of course, I'm struggle streaming already. Everybody, give me a one in the chat if you can hear me. Give me a one in the chat if you can hear me. Of course, PBO always struggle streaming. Let me load these slides up real quick. You know how we do it. If you got any cybersecurity tech questions, it'd be nice if I can enunciate tonight. Struggle streaming. Hopefully, everybody's having a great holiday, getting ready for the New Year 2026. Let's see. Let's loading up real quick. Let's see. I see some more people coming. I'm processing these PowerPoint slides. They usually take about 15 seconds. My fault, lost a little track of time. I appreciate the ones. Jeffrey Johnson in the house. Saw Sear 5944. Casual Economist, definitely one of the day ones. Shout out to my man Martin K. Fack. Hopefully I didn't mess it up too bad. Talk about NIST SP 800-228 API security. So most people know that I'm a NIST 853 guy, so I'm always in special publications. A lot of times when you do SSPs or assessments, they references different special publications. Obviously, this is API, which is hot because a lot of people don't know when you do agents and ChatGPT, you're actually making API calls to the back end. So talk about how securing them, and a lot of services are serverless, which are basically APIs. So get my big face off them off the screen. Once again, if you got any tech questions or cybersecurity, drop them in the chat. Most people know I am Professor Black Ops. I've been in the game for 35 years. I've been in cybersecurity, 15-ish. I taught 10 years also at a community college at night as my give back. So I might start teaching again. There was a new regime that came in where I was teaching at, and we just didn't get along. But I wouldn't say get along, just disagreed on a few things. But once again, let's get into it. This 800 special publication 800 228. And once again, I probably got 100 hours worth of NIST videos in the playlist on my channel. So this is the particular special publication guidelines for API protection for cloud native systems. And I always try to look at what the date is. A lot of these special publications are 10 years or older. So I want to make sure we touching on base of one of the newer up to date. Once again, special publications. You see it right there, June 2025. So this year I love doing those. And I probably talked about 15 special publications from this. So once again, I'm a NIST guy. I appreciate that, Kiki and Jasmine. Happy New Year. It is that time. It is that time. So let's keep rolling. Hopefully, we're not going to keep you too long. So an API basically is an application programming interface, a set of rules and protocols that allow two different software programs to communicate with each other and exchange data. It acts as a messenger or as a middleman, handling requests and responses between applications. Much like a waiter in a restaurant that takes your order to the kitchen and brings your food, the back end, of course, will be your chef. Different gateways. At the top, you see web front ends. Everybody's on their phone now, so you got your mobile. You can have JSON over HTTP, XML over HTTP, SOAP. That's a lot older protocol. When I used to program, we used to move around SOAP. Then XML came in, and I think JSON was the norm. Then also connected to your backend, you have JSON over HTTP. Of course, we probably want it secure, so we probably would do HTTPS. Once again, SOAP over HTTP. The one I like most is XML over HTTP or SOAP over JMS. Right. So really, there's RPC. There's a ton of other. What's up, Rexy? There's a ton of other protocols, but basically coming to the front end and you do an API gateway that connects to the back end. A lot of times you want to go over to the API because really that's your handshake. So long as the front end touches your API with the handshake, then you can send it that protocol to any service on the back end. That could be a database, Lambda, XML, NoSQL calls, Java, Rust. So you can use any technology or database on the back end to do that communication to pull that data back. So they usually, a lot of times in the old days, they call the API gateway the contract. This is what the contract. So this is how I'm gonna receive data, and this is how I'm gonna send data on the back end. Once again, you got the user. This is a weather. You go through the weather app. Then the API on the back end brings the weather data back. Once again, that could be XML, JSON, flat file, any other communications. And from an API call, this is actually from AWS. Most people know AWS is my my cloud of choice, but once again, pick a cloud, any cloud. We know we're going to touch a cloud, so this is once again my cloud of choice. API security. You got your AIM, Entity and Access Management Center, short-term tokens. Your API gateway, how you create it. Once again, you can do TLS, JWT validation. Once again, Lambda is just what source code are you going to call it? Lambda? I can have Java, JSON, REST, JavaScripts in there. So the Lambda is your code of choice. Then two, you can get tokens for short-term communications. And once again, ECS, EKS, that's Dockers or their Kubernetes call in the back end. Amazon Cognito is their place where you put your users, your data. Also in there, you can actually use Facebook or Snapchat. Send a call to them, and you can actually use the credentials for them to actually authenticate you. There's once again a number of ways to do it. Then on the back end, once again, what's your database of choice? You see DB Access database, Access, Secure, Secret Storage, Secret Managers. Then you're logging at the back end. So this is your typical API gateway, and really from an infrastructure, how you would set that up. VPC is your virtual private cloud of how you're going to set up your subnets, your load balancers, your private subnets, or your IPv4 or IPv6. Right, so that's your networking and how you're going to communicate. Once the API call hits you, then once again, how are you going to bring that data back in? Different ways to do it. Once again, people know that AWS is my cloud of choice. So guidelines for the API protection, once again, for cloud native, standardized approach for securing APIs in a cloud native architecture, increasingly underpinning with your microservices. You have a service mesh environment, or the favorite one we've been talking a lot about is Zero Trust architecture or Zero Trust service-to-service communication. So I did 3 or 4 videos on Zero Trust, especially from a government perspective and what that actually looks like. Until you have your multi-clustered and hybrid cloud application. This fills a gap of traditional network perimeter security, which no longer applies inside a containerized distributed environment. So in the old days, what do I mean by that? You would go in the office, you would log in, your network would be inside your office perimeter, or maybe you had a couple satellite offices, right? So you run your lease lines, but it would always be inside your security boundaries of your company. But now, since you're in the cloud, now you're going through cloud vendors. there's really no like they say traditional network perimeters. People are dialing from home, people calling from their phones. Even when you VPN inside, you're really still coming from their home, which is outside your traditional network perimeter. All right. So I think that's the good side and the bad side about the cloud. It makes it easier to connect, but now if you're trying to secure it, there's no traditional network boundaries. The people want to work from home. You got MFA. Then people are calling from home. Then they're going through AWS, Azure, Google, right? So now you're actually in their networking infrastructure before you come back to your office infrastructure, even, right? So now you probably have three different hybrid networks you're using. Kind of your home, going through your cable modem, then picking your cloud. Then a lot of times your cloud is connected to your home office, right? So once again, that's a lot to secure and figure out how to secure it and how to secure it well would be the tough part of that. So what does it cover? We're going to touch on these coming up. Defense in depth. We're going to talk about API exposure controls, which prevent unintended access and data leakage. API authentication and identity. Strong service identity using MTLS or token security. API authorization and policy enforcement. Fine-grained access decisions at runtime. API observability and monitoring. Detecting misuse, attacks, and vulnerabilities. So those are kind of the four big things we talk about when we're talking about securing API calls. And once again, a lot of your artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, FedRAMP for Amazon, Gemini, all of those are usually API calls into the cloud. So once again, how are you securing it from your side and how they're securing it from the back end? All right, from a security thing, those are the things we need to figure out from a third-party assessment or just doing a risk assessment. Well, with any third-party vendor. I think we take granted AI and those AI calls, so I don't think we ask the proper questions we need when we're using artificial intelligence internal, especially from different products, especially when you're talking about using API calls to those particular different vendors, especially our AI agents. We probably we definitely gonna get into that in 2026. How do we use them from a GRC perspective? How do we secure them from a security architect perspective? From a GRC perspective, what do we expect? How to harden those particular items? And once again, we're going to talk a little bit about that in this presentation. Once again, if you have any questions, cybersecurity or tech, drop them in the chat. Why is cloud data security different? Internally exposed cross services, but can cause a mass compromise. Rapidly deployed via CD pipelines. Vulnerabilities move faster. Connect via ephemeral container networking. Often invisible to traditional security teams. So NIST pushes for security built in to the service mesh or platform, not bolted on later. White, I always laugh. That last line is a nice to have. Because most times when people build apps, people build artificial intelligence, they're not worried about security. They trying to get a proof of concept and trying to get money. Once we start making money, then we're worried about security. Then it becomes bolt on later, right? So let's get my 2 cents, just hanging out in the industry, what I see. Recommended security mechanisms to align with zero trust architecture. Each service has its own security boundary. Once again, authentication. We looked a little bit about that last time. MTLS, IDs, OAuth with access tokens. Authorization, OPA, Envoy filters. We'll talk a little bit about ABAC and RBAC, role-based security. API gateways and sidecars. Envoy-based enforcements and rate limit. Runtime scanners detect anomalous API sequences. Secure DevOps. That's one of my favorite things to discuss. API contract validations to your CI and CD pipeline. Continuous integration and continuous deployment. So how fast are we adding to these APIs? How fast are we building? Do we have automated tests to when we spin up these things quick? Can we test them at scale? I can feel Kiki start some. Oh, it's not going to be like the Wild Wild West. There's none. Remember, we did the video where this administration blocked the states from doing their own AI regulations. So I don't think it's going to be Wild Wild West because I don't think there's going to be any, Kiki. They're going to be so high level. This administration's told us to our face that they don't want to stop innovation. They don't want to stop us beating China. So that means it's not going to be a Wild Wild West, Kiki. You being nice, there's going to be zero. There'll be none. Chime in on that, Kiki. That's Professor Blackhouse being a curmudgeon. Coming into the new year, I want to keep my roll up. Now, Kiki, I think you're being nice. I don't think it's going to be a Wild Wild West. I think it's going to be zero. Zip zero. Because once again, you were there. The administrations are suing states that put up the AI regulations. They're suing them. Once again, here's other special publications. One reason I like NIST is they always do special publications. If you need to delve down deeper into other issues, technologies, they give you services. So SP 204 series, microservice and containers. We'll look at that a lot of times when you do APIs. They're calling containers in the background. Containers being Docker and Kubernetes. Everybody know I'm an 853 Web 5 guy. Control requirements for API management. This is the next one we probably do. We're talking about API Cloud Native. 895 delves a little more specific in security fundamentals. I pulled out some security and, of course, added to it because I couldn't help myself. But just general, I've got a video on 802.07. I think I got 3 videos on Zero Trust, identity-based services and communication. Once again, NIST CSF 2.0, the little brother of 800-53. Shout out to the big professor. He hates when I say that. API risk and governance. Let me check, see if my homegirl trying to get in. Let's see, I need to get on Discord. Let's see who's anybody. If anybody checks on Discord, see if B-Dub's out there trying to get in. I was having some problems with her on my YouTube channel. Let's keep rolling. Once again, put any questions. Cybersecurity or chat in the box. Chime in on that, Kiki. I don't think we're going to get the Wild Wild West. I think we're going to get zero regulations from AI. What threats are we going to talk about? API abuse, which is a business logic attack. Broken access controls within microservices. Service identity spoofing. JWT theft, which is the tokens, sidecar bypass, CI/CD, supply chain compromise, and shadow APIs. So once again, we're going to touch on a little bit of each one of those. I think I just showed that. I'll be copying files all over. Once again, this is a high-level API. I think shout out. I appreciate you. But we talked about that on that other video, man. I was surprised. Shout out to this administration. You're suing states because they're trying to protect their constituents. So that's my 2 cents on it. At the top, if you look at those post get / login authentication, how would you authenticate using your API calls? Facades are basically API contracts. That's what we were talking about. Foo ID, which would be delete. Foo is the process, so it could be, people know I do a lot of tax stuff. Post tax return would be post tax return. Delete ID would be my specific. Most of the time on those IDs, we would use SSN, so they would be unique. So we would delete your taxes or bring them up with the get, or put. Then once again, your API is on the middle. Then the service, once we talked about, is what Lambda or application. languages are you using, which we're going to update your backend. And that's the slide next to it. See the mobile? That will be your foo and your put. Your API gateway would come in. Let's say we say get, and we can do get an API. Lambda would be get. I'm a Java guy, so I will call my Java function. Then I will pull it out of that RDS right there. Then it will pull the information back, send it to your mobile or your screen. So from an API contract, that's kind of what it would look like at a high level. All right, you got your API call. We're going to talk a little bit about this. Do you have access keys? Because we have a paid service, so we don't want everybody on the internet trying to use it, right? So we give you your access keys or your tokens, so you're the only one that could call your API contract in the gateway. Once you get validated or authenticated or authorization, we look at each one of those a little differently. I got a couple more AWS flow charts. I'm an AWS guy. And at the bottom would be your role. Once you log in, get authenticated. What's your role? Are you a regular user? Are you an admin? Are you a DBA? Are you an SA? Meaning you can take down a whole site, or can you a developer? You can just push some code down. That role would, depending on what your authentication, that role would tell you what you'd be able to do. Then we're going to log everything in there in case something happened. We can trace what happened, right? Did the person delete, but he wasn't an admin, or he was doing some admin roles and he shouldn't do? That's why we try to log everything in CloudWatch Log so we can come back and do some investigation. We know PBO would never mess up a program, but just in case, we log in everything so we can figure out what happened on the back end. Right? Let's see what my man Kiki said. As the Trump administration has the Trump blockchain technology, I haven't heard anything about it here. No, I haven't. I think what they do, and I need to do more investigation. Blockchain is usually a technology. So administrations usually don't get into technology. When you say AI could be using blockchain, NoSQL, or relational. They'll let whatever organizations do in AI. They're not regulated. So I think they will let that corporation, government agency handle that technology in depth. I've never really seen, especially administration, when they do executive order, they very rarely mention technology. They'll say something like secure it, aka we want you to encrypt it. A lot of times they don't say encryption because they want to leave it flexible for you enough to do it. I'm a huge blockchain guy. I told everybody I did some blockchain. AWS, I can't even think of their blockchain database. You can actually spin it up for 3 months free. So I was doing financial contracts using Java to put them on a blockchain, because you can't delete them on a blockchain. You can change them and it links right, so then you have a trail to follow. But no, Kiki, I've never seen administration specifically talk about a technology like that. And I've been around government tech for about 20 years. They very rarely, once again, they want to leave that to the technologists. Once again, they talk. I was surprised the Biden administration mentioned zero trust, right? We know zero trust is about 100 different technologies. But usually, once again, they say something at a high level, then the person or the specific agency can pick what technology they want to use underneath that. Key service and controls, IAM, which is Identity Access Management, foundational to control who's access your API and what actions they can perform. My favorite thing, principle of least privilege, grant only permission necessary to perform the task. Short-term credentials, automatically expiring credentials using AWS STS whenever possible. They're inherited, limit impact for potential exposures. I think this is the foundation. MFA, multi-factor authentication, enforce MFA for sensitive operation and account access. So I think that's what most of the companies are pushing. Once again, my AWS design at the top. Once again, we just read it through the slide. Your IAM identity center, your short-term tokens. Then it calls your API gateway. Once again, you use the MTLS or the JWT for validation. You can do a Lambda authorization. Basically, is I call it Java read your username and password, pull it out of the database, then figure out what you need to do for your authorization, right? What can you access? And once again, if you want to do short-term tokens, right there at the top, STS, and your token authentication. And at the bottom, we were talking about that. Your virtual private cloud, which is your networking, your subnets, ECS and EKS, which is your containers, Docker, Kubernetes, Amazon Cognito is, once again, that could also have your username and passwords. In there, you get a lot more security. AWS inside Cognito, it can say, are these bad IPs it's trying to go out to get? Once you log in with this username and password, these are the permissions, least privilege permissions of things you can call in the back end. Can they update the database? Can they delete? Are they just read only, or are they actually an admin? Once again, you can get that out of your Cognito. Then at the bottom, of course, we have our continuous monitoring, our AWS config, our cloud watch, and our logging. It's at the bottom. Once again, from an API perspective, different things you can call, different backends you can call. And this is what we're trying to secure as a GRC person or as a security architect. I kind of do those interchangeably because I do a lot of GRC, but since I'm a senior, when people design stuff, I kind of at least want to know what they're designing. So a lot of people go, you GRC, why are you talking a lot about architecture? If I don't understand it, then I can't secure it or I can't assess it. All right, so that's kind of where I got into this and kind of where I took my channel. I do a lot of assessments from very large, complicated federal assignments, so I need to be able to understand them to assess them. Once again, authentication, authorization, implementing strong mechanisms, robust authentication authorization methods. Once again, we talked about AWS IAM roles and policies to control access between services. We just talked about Amazon Cognito, users identity pools to manage users and authentications. And you can issue JSON web tokens for API access. Lambda authorizers create custom Lambda functions or really custom code to implement bespoke authorization logic. Then the OAuth 2.0 and OIDC. Take my big head off the screen. Leverage industry standard protocols for OAuth 2.0 and OpenID for modern authentication flows and single sign-on. Once again, you can do principal at least. I think, I'm guessing, OAuth 2.0 I thought was Google, and OIDC I thought was used by Facebook. I might be interchangeable, but those big cloud vendors use those. And a lot of people don't realize Facebook, Meta, a lot of companies use Facebook username and password to authenticate in the business apps, especially small business apps. Why? They don't want to do that heavy lifting. I could do a quick Java app and say, use Facebook for authentication. You log in with your username in Facebook, it sends me back a JWT token. Then I know to let you into this app because Facebook already authenticated you. Would I do that? Never. I don't trust Facebook with my professional authentication for a business. But when they went down, that was a lot of people didn't realize they have a huge business, especially for mid-sized to smaller companies, using API authentications to get into other corporate applications. Shout out for them making all the money. Once again, if you look at the top, we talked about the admin and users. We talked about our Amazon Cognito at the top for authentication. Once again, you see your JWT token before you got in your API gateway, then also your API key. We can generate a key, send it to you. Then when you do your API call inside the transmission, you can send an API key. And those are 3 to 4 ways to authenticate before you get into your API for your AWS application. What are you trying to do? Then once again, at the bottom, you have your AWS IAM. See, so once again, that's kind of what your architecture would look like at a high level. You was doing something simple. And once again, you were doing an API call. Once again, your contract with your users and your admins getting into your API access. Your network infrastructure using private APIs, restrict APIs within your Amazon VPC. We were just looking at that. Private API endpoints, interface VPC endpoints, ensure traffic does not traverse the public internet. Integrate with AWS Web Application Firewall to filter malicious traffic. Protect against common web exploits like SQL injection and cross-site scripting. Configure cores properly. Define cross-origin resource sharing policies to specify which domains are allowed to access your API and prevent malicious websites from exploiting logged-in users. Once again, different security levels, talking about from an API perspective. From a GRC perspective and a high level, what does that really look like when you're talking about securing API calls? Data protection, we're talking about enforcing HTTPS, TLS everywhere. Mandate that you use HTTPS, TLS 1.2 or higher for all your API communications to ensure data encryption in transit and protect against man-in-the-middle attacks. Encryption data at rest, ensure sensitive data is encrypted while stored on a backend database. A storage service using strong encryption, AES 256, and secure key management practices. Secure API keys and credentials. Never hardcore API keys or credentials. We see that a lot in Reddit. Man, people be having their APIs and credentials in Reddit. In your source code, use AWS Secret Manager or environment variables to store them securely and rotate them regularly. Use short-lived credentials wherever possible. And we'll look at, once again, I think we got it coming up. Monitoring testing, implement rate limiting throttling, prevent API use, brute force attacks, and denial of service. Log and monitor extensively. Use API CloudWatch and CloudTrails to log your API execution details, access attempts, and anomalies. Handle errors gracefully. Return generic errors messages to the clients to avoid exposing internal details. While logging detailed information for debugging, conduct regular audits and test integrations with your DAS, which is your static and dynamic testing. Also have a penetration testing in your CI/CD pipelines and conduct regular security audits to identify vulnerabilities early. From a GRC perspective, once again, how do you scan your environment? Is that Rapid7? Is that Qualsys? AWS Config? AWS Inspector? There's a lot of tools that help you test and look for vulnerabilities. And that's part of your vulnerability management program. What does that look like? Then two is most people have vulnerability management. They very rarely talk about API in their vulnerability management. They're usually talking about scanning the OS, scanning your Apache, your Tomcat, your JBoss, your IIS, but you never talk about the next level of that is what are your API and your code doing inside those containers? Right, we can talk about scanning Kubernetes, Docker, but how do we scan the application code inside there? And I think a lot of people are not to that level of detail. But once again, that's the maturity of your org. Once again, I've been sharing the same thing. That's the AWS flow for a cloud native service. So here, let me drop the link and let's discover a couple other little things. I don't want to keep it too long in the Happy New Year coming up. I've been super tired lately. I got to get it together for the new year. Once again, we just kind of flow through this. Once again, I like it. You can see your API gateway, which is basically just a contract between you and your clients, you and your internal users, right? How do you connect to this API to call services on your back end? And two, how do you have authentication and authorization? You see your Lambda authorization over there. You can use short-term tokens, your Cognito. If you let them inside, then You can use your Amazon Cognito for your username and password. Once again, you could use, we talked about this, your Facebook or Google passwords to connect to your particular API. Once again, you might not want to handle that type of infrastructure. You can let a third party do that authentication authorization for you. A lot of people use Facebook, which I think is crazy. But let's see. I think that's really one I want to hit. API is just so, it's just such a nuance. And once again, I saw this special publication, so made me want to kind of drill down into that. I get a few questions on those now and then. People reach out and talk about vulnerability scanning, what that entails, and once again how to handle that. Once again, your API gateway, you see your API key there. You can do tokens. Once you log in, get your JSON token, meaning you logged in, you've been authenticated. You see right there for your app, basically tells you what resources can you look in with that token. A lot of times, you usually say that token is good for 4 or 5 hours, which means if somebody steals it, that could be a problem. But once again, it's saved in some places, how it handles it. Browsers are set up to secure those. So a lot of times, too, some people put it in your session, so you can just pull it out automatically. Let's see. So I think I dropped the link if anybody want to come up. If anybody had any general questions. That's what we talked about today, special publications. You see the link inside there, available free of charge. That's why I also like NIST. Once again, guidelines for API protection of cloud native. Done for June 2025. We want to make sure, as a GRC person, if somebody asks us specific questions on cloud native API, we know we can pull up this document, kind of go through it and peruse it. Now, once again, I try to do have a deep understanding of these particular documents. Once again, from GRC perspective. Once again, I used to architect systems a long time ago. Let's see. Once again, put any questions, cybersecurity or tech in the chat box. Let's see. Ooh, I forgot that. Once again, figure out what your 2026 goals are. CISP might probably be my 2026 goal, but of course that was my 2025 goal. So hopefully we meet that in 2026. So once again, trying to get some certs, trying to get some degrees, just trying to get some skills, trying to learn some new things. I probably once again work on the CISSP and really try to get better at containers. I don't do a lot with Docker or Kubernetes. So I think that's something I want to dig down a little deeper in 2026 that I'm kind of thin on. EC2 API gateways, which is kind of more serverless. I'm pretty comfortable in those. Looking at those particular architectural diagrams and doing those. Shout out AB. Kind of what those look like. So once again, I think for me, shout out to my man Christopher on my LinkedIn side. Glad you can join me. I think we're wrapping up though, getting ready for the new year. But thanks for joining. Once again, if anybody's got any questions, I'm hang out a little bit. But we were definitely hitting the guidelines for the API protection for cloud native. We were digging into the one on the screen. I'll put the link in the chat, Kiki, for this particular special publication, so you'll have it. I got to start up my Google. I got to start up my Google. I'll find that for you. I think the link was showing it, but I'll pull it up for you. Got to get back on my Stranger Things. Woo, man. I got to do a little bit better. What's that? I'll get that for you, Kiki. What's it, 228? I think it was 228. 228. The 228, yeah. Getting the 228. No, you fine. You fine, AB. It's all good. You're all good. Let me know if that works for you, Kiki. That's the document location for the 228, which is what we talked about today. Let me know if that works for you, Kiki. Shout out to AB. Shout out for Brexy. Good stuff. Thank you for having me. Happy New Year, Brexy. I appreciate you. My man GMR, thanks for joining us up. PBO. All good, all good. Everybody have a 2026 now. You good. But once again, I dropped the link. Oh, there's the link right there. Oh no, that's the that is the 228. Let me drop the link if anybody wants to come up. So again, we were just kind of going over this from a kind of GRC perspective, talking about APIs, which everybody uses, especially in the artificial intelligence realm. You're doing API calls to the back end 9 times out of 10. So it's a link if anybody want to come up. Shout out to everybody. I appreciate y'all. Let's see. Let's hit the big diagram real quick one more time. One more again. Here it is. This is my API gateway. From course, we know I'm an AWS guy. Come in, get your identity or MFA, least privileges, short-term tokens, do your API gateway. And that API gateway is going to tell you how you connect to your back end. VPC is your virtual private cloud. And you can do database, NoSQL, object-oriented storage. Then at the bottom, how are you logging it? I appreciate you, Sir. Happy New Year. So that's kind of what we touched on a little bit. Once again, I just want to touch a little bit on that 228. Just kind of hitting, everybody know I'm a NIST guy. So just going over some of the special publications I think are pertinent, valid. So once again, hit the 228. If you go on my channel, I have a playlist for governance, which is basically NIST. I think Chris looked, I think he said last time I had 70 hours of NIST videos on my channel. I always joke, I got more NIST videos than NIST got. Shout out to me. But now I want to wish everybody a happy New Year. Hang out a little longer. Shout out to Kiki. He asked me something that was, I thought, super important. He asked me, was AI regulations in the United States, will it be like a Wild Wild West? PBO said no, because there will be no regulation. We know this administration is actually suing states about regulations for AI, and they don't want you to put any regulations that could get in the way of the United States beating China. So I told him I don't think there'll be any regulation. So shout out to the oligarchy and the big dogs. AI is gonna run amok in the United States of America. So that's my take on it. I might do a very short video on that, about 5 minutes, and maybe elaborate a little more on that. But yeah, I did the video where this administration was actually suing the states for putting in AI regulations that they thought would hamper big companies, the oligarchy, from beating China in AI. So once again, that's my get off the line thing. So once again, I did a couple videos on that. So once again, I think that's my 2 cents on it. So let me put my big face up, and there would be no government regulation. AI will run amok in the U.S. because Kiki's not from the U.S., so I always joke about that a little bit, though. But shout out to him. Definitely always asking great questions. Definitely adding to it. So the conversation. Got it again. Okay, cool. So I think we're all limped over here in the finish line, but hoping fast start to. Yeah, I'm with you, Jim. I'm barely making it. I drank some pop that I shouldn't be drinking to try to stay away. So, but well, we made it. Let's see. Jim, our AI is going to run amok like the world is racing without. No, facts. So, yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna do my videos of AI No Control. The World Be Eating Porridge. Shout out to my man Fern for joining us. He's late to the party, but we welcome everybody as they get there. Everybody know I'm Tuesday at 7 o'clock Eastern time. I try to be consistent. So yeah, but once again, just talking about that 228. I'll put the link in there. Shout out for my man Kiki. Here it is. You need to go look at that 228. June 2025. Once again, cloud native. Let me peek into Discord, making sure my homie B Dubs ain't looking for me. She said I was blocking her. I wouldn't let her in. So let's see. I think we're okay. I'm gonna lay down. I am tired. I gotta get it together. Let's see. I appreciate that, AB. Love and respect. So most people here know if you're looking for them, I'm usually in Study GRC's Discord. Shout out to them. I'm too lazy to do my own Discord. That's too much work. So I'm usually in there. I'm usually on these YouTube streets. Definitely check out my playlist, especially if you're a NIST person or if you're looking for some guidance on different things. I do a lot of federal and state work for NIST. A lot of times IRS Pub 1075 is really my specialty. Let's see. I've got forward to a hiring manager from South Carolina for some agencies for security. I pray for me. Let me know if you need anything. If you want me to interview you for a job, if you got the job description, I can help. I could do an interview for you, Fern. You one of the guys that support me. So a lot of times in Discord, people ask me to interview them. Or shout out to you. You can go to the Coffee Mafia inside Study GRC. They have some people to talk to you, but I'm usually tier 3. If you need to get to PBO, but if you need me to help you, got some specific questions about something in that particular JD job description. No pressure though, Fern. I know you got it, but if you got any specific questions for me, just ping me in Discord and we can link up if you've done something specific to ask me. I try to support the people that specifically support me, but I try to help in always possible that I can. Once again, I want to wish everybody a happy new year. I think I'm going to go Friday at noon. I got to figure out what my topic is. I'll be waiting for the last minute. I got to get it together. But once again, shout out to Kiki. I think there will be no AI governance in the United States. Let's see. That's cool. For real. I'm easily found. If you need me, I'll be there for you. If you want to chop it up about it, we definitely can. Like I said, I want everybody to be successful in 2026. It's hard out here. All good, Jim R. Appreciate everybody out here. Once again, I am out. PBO about to lay down and get back to his studying. I need to do one more AWS cert, then I got to switch over to the CISSP, which I have no desire to do, but I think I'm going to need it. Okay, you dropped me in. Okay, let me go peek real quick. You telling me to drop the link, or did you drop me a message on LinkedIn? What are you telling me, friend? Let me go look. You want me to drop my LinkedIn, or you drop me a message? I think you want me to drop my LinkedIn. Which one? Let's see what my man. You want me to drop my LinkedIn? Let's see. Drop your link, and I will. Can I ping you on Discord if I need help? Oh, of course, AB. You don't have to ask that. Yeah, just send me up. You want me to drop it? I'll drop it. I try to keep my government info. I don't know why. Most people know it. I be trying to keep my government information out for LinkedIn. It's not a big deal. I'm dropping it so everybody can hit me up on my government. Let me see. Boom, boom. That's my LinkedIn for everybody trying to figure out my government information. No, that's good. Oh, ease up, Jim. RCSP, but I'm doing it, man. I'm working on it, man. Let's see. That's my LinkedIn. So everybody hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm in quite a few. I'm probably in 7 discords, but I'm usually in study GRCs the most. I'm in Ozers a little bit. I mean, my shout out to my man Jaime. He the PCI guru. I'm in his stuff. Shout out to CPN. They're the CMMC people. So I'm probably in 6 or 7 discords. So I be struggling. Don't have the time. Chris be like, "Hey man, somebody answered your question. You got to send me the link to it." Old people having old tech problems. But shout out to Chris. He be like, "Here you go, PBO. Somebody answer your question." I'm like, "Hey man, I'm in a lot of Discord." So Chris usually help the old people out if I don't see it sometimes. But he actually is the admin for his Discord. So if it's in his Discord, I put the responsibility on him. So sometimes a lot of times he asks me, him my B dubs be like, PBO, answer this question. Oh, my bad, I didn't see it. But yeah, Discord, I'm getting better at Discord though. Shout out to me. I'm getting better at Discord. But let me know, Farron. I dropped that LinkedIn. So we can check it on out. So that's it. Oh, I see my man there. I see him. I see you. I see you. You give me the thumbs up. I'm gonna give him the sunglasses. I seen. So Farron just hit me on LinkedIn. So we definitely gonna link up and do some stuff. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, that's it. I should have sent it to my man Dwight. Just shut up. So I still about 5 more minutes. Hit me up with a couple questions. Gonna wind it down. That's what we hit today. Let me put my face in a little spot. Guidelines for API protection for cloud native. The native part I went was deep. I went AWS, so let's get super detailed on it. I like this document, fairly new, June 2025. That was the link there, and I just sent my man Kiki the link, the one I was using, which was a little different than that one. But once again, these are what I use a lot of times when I'm doing assessments or somebody's asked me something that I don't really understand in the RFI, RFP. A lot of times I look for a special publication. That kind of helps me drill down. Then I'm gonna be super transparent. I read it, then I put it in Chat GPT, then I redact the document names and stuff out of it, and I put them in there, and I say, I'll go first though. GPT, this is what I saw. This is what my issues. What's your thoughts on it? Right? Because I don't want AI to lead me. I like leading AI, right? So I'll do my assessment. Then I'll come and say, AI, this is what I wrote up about it. These are the sentences. This is the page. This is the paragraph. These are the issues, the findings, and the gap I found. What's your take on this? And 2, do you think I missed some, or do you think I need to elaborate something on it? Right. So then that's me going back and forth. With AI, I'm trying to use AI I think as it should be used. My next level I'm trying to get to is actually start creating agents. I do an assessment, then I have my agents check my assessment. Then what I want to do is the agents learn from me really learning from the agents. Then I can tell the agents do an assessment for me. Then I'll review it. Then I try to start teaching the agent to learn. Right now, let's be crystal clear. Most of the time, agents don't know more than me, right? It's scanning and learning from the whole document. There's a lot of nuances inside companies and OJT that certain companies use. Right? What years ago, I worked for a big company. The CIO was real big about us having the right to audit a third party. A lot of times, that's really not in any of the third-party assessments. I think they got burned and they want to be able to go in time within 24 hours to review a data center or something. They got burnt and almost got sued. So he always wanted to have the right to audit. So I was trying to teach the chatbot that any documentation we have, an additional requirement is the right to audit. A lot of times inside NIST, they have a right to audit, but their right to audit is if you do a SOC 2 type 2, you do that every year, and that's the right to audit because their third party accounting firm is going to audit them every year. So if they get an attestation saying they're good, why would you need to have a right to audit if they're doing a third party assessment right audit? Next time I'm trying, man, I'm trying. So those kind of things. Once again, trying to use chat and for what it's supposed to be used, right? Use chat. I'm trying to get to a point where chat is my assistant, right? And then hopefully once we train it, get the agents working right. But you got to be careful because if I scan it with an agent and their internal documentation get moved back into the public domain, I could be sued, right? So why would I get sued? I put companies' specific knowledge out on internet because the chatbot scanned it, right? So now if you're using Microsoft chatbot, it's out internally in your database, but their chats read the internet, but they read your data and keep that data inside the corporation, right? But once again, what does that look like, right? And how do you make sure you're covered if it does get leaked out, right? So I always kind of start, what's the worst character? Will our cybersecurity insurance cover that if our chatbot leaked the customer's data? A lot of times I have to sign NDAs because I get to see people's in-depth architecture of their design, right? I read AWS architecture and Azure. I had to sign an NDA, right? Because they showed me some cool stuff on the back end, right? But if that data get out, it could actually hurt them, right? So then if I cause to get out, they can personally sue my company and me personally, right? Because I signed an NDA personally that said I wouldn't let it get out. Let's see what my man Kiki said. Airline pilot ChatGPT. Oh, I gotta look up that up. They don't think he should have used ChatGPT. They don't think the airline pilot should have used ChatGPT. I guess for me, and a lot of people are surprised, I'm really favored. I wouldn't be using ChatGPT for a case a lot. My only pushback on that is I agree with you, Kiki and Jasmine, but the problem with that is lawyers are very expensive. One of my real good friends is a lawyer. She be charging $300 an hour to poor people. So my thought pattern about this, I'm gonna use ChatGPT. If you got a high powered lawyer and I got a public defender, I'll take my chance with ChatGPT before I use a public defender. I'm just throwing that out. Why would I would use ChatGPT before I use the public defender. All day, every day, I promise you. I believe ChatGPT already passed the bar. So if you're gonna tell me they got a high powered lawyer and you're gonna give me a public defender of ChatGPT, I'll take ChatGPT all along. Every day, all day, I would take ChatGPT, especially in I gotta word this right, especially in a United States legal system. I don't have the utmost confidence in. I would take ChatGPT every day, all day. Facts, facts, facts. Me, ChatGPT plus a public defender, ChatGPT all day. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. No, I agree, and that's true. I agree, and I kind of was saying that before. It's my job to lead ChatGPT, but not lead ChatGPT. But you know this too, Larry. There's different levels to this. Even in the federal space, there's some SMEs and there's some regular people. If you got junior people, I'll take my chance with ChatGPT all together, man. Every day, all day. That's not true, Jim. If I hire an attorney, he's responsible for me. Now he's got to do it in a framework for legal. A good friend of mine I ran track with in high school, brilliant guy, was in law school. He was like top 5 in his class his sophomore year. I got to say, my name was Linus. I said, Linus, man, when you gonna be my lawyer? He goes, man, I quit. I'm like, why you quit law school, man? You killing it, man. You bright. He goes, they made me represent some slimy and guilty people. I couldn't sleep at night. He's like, I could not sleep. He's like, I was throwing up in the middle of the night because I was representing people so dirty and ugly and muddy, I couldn't sleep at night. So he became a teacher. He owned like $100,000 in debt. Oh, facts. Here too, man. That's my only issue is I agree you're right, but if you telling me I got to use a public defender or ChatGPT, man, I take my chances with ChatGPT every day, all day. What I would try to do though to add that, I would like only look at places at LexisNexis that are where the lawyers actually go. Right? There's like 2 big companies that do all the legal research. One of them is LexisNexis, and some was other one. I keep thinking Microsoft, Oracle just gonna buy one of those companies for $1 billion. Think you have the AI documentation to be reviewing court cases. Because a lot of times you see ChatGPT, it'll bring up a false case or something from a university or something and think it's real. So you just got to say, this is LexisNexis. This is, we used to call them the gold standard. You can only look inside here. But once again, that's my 2 cents, man. I'm just not very fond of this political system. Fair know what I'm talking about. So no, man. So no. So yeah, I'll take my chance with ChatGPT all day, every day. Oh, that's cool. I did a little bit when I worked for the state. We had a whole floor of lawyers. So we talked about privacy and that type of stuff and what they were looking for inside there. Once again, put your last questions in there. Just kind of going over there. Just kind of throwing my 2 cents in there. Once again, I think paralegals are toast. I think ChatGPT is going to be doing all that work in the near future, and turning it over to the lawyers to double check everything. But I think AI is going to take paralegals out. That's pure logical research. I think ChatGPT is going to eat that up. And two is ChatGPT now is just starting at a lot of entry levels. Every 18 months, 2 years, it gets better. So it's going to be the freshman, then it's going to be the junior, entry level, then it's going to be medium, right? So I think in the future, that's what's going to come about that particular AI. So once again, I'm trying to become more comfortable in AI. I'm hoping to start using like agents more in 2026 to let it do some of the assessment and some of the research. But shout out to Larry. It's the baseline, me double checking it, me training it too. Things I wanted to look for, things that are not in this. A lot of times the corporations want to add to it. Like my boss, I always want to have the right to audit, which is kind of really not in this. It's in there, but not really. So I was kind of adding that clause where within 14 days we could just pull up on you. We just pull up on you. Come in your data center. All right. So, but for me, a lot of times the right to audit for me, if you're doing a SOC 2 type 2 every year, long as I have right to see your SOC 2 audit with all the findings and the gaps in it, that's all I need to audit. And you don't need to give it to me. Just put it on a virtual private desktop And I just log in there and look at it, right? Then if there's something I could just, summarize it inside my Word document. Right? So that's kind of how I would sidestep the right to audit. Unless it was some super pertinent information like a HIPAA trust thing. But if it's just regular PI information, once again, if you got a SOC 2 type 2, you get that done every year. I would just need access to that for me. And I think 9 times out of 10, that will handle for me that particular requirement that I was looking for. Once again, I want to wish everybody a happy new year. I have to say Merry Christmas. If it's Merry Christmas because it's past, but a happy new year. I want to appreciate everybody joining me. Come and check me out Friday at noon Eastern time. I'll schedule that shortly. I got to figure out what I want to talk about. PBL be just doing it on the fly. Do you think the average person can get by with the free version asking for a friend? Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're going to use it for. Yeah, the average person definitely get away with it. I mean, because when I do chat, I probably ask chat 100 different questions a day because I'm drilling down to it. I have a YouTube channel, so now if you see my images looking a little better, shout out to ChatGPT. They're doing my images for me. So tune in, digging in. I might upload. If somebody has some information, third party company has their SOC 3 out there. I load their SOC 3 up inside ChatGPT because it's on the web for public use at the company. All right, so I'll load that up and just kind of drill down to it. This is what I saw. This is what I saw on their website. Here's their website. Just peruse through it and from a NIST 800-53. What do you think? A lot of times too is you need a password to get into their particular database where they keep their real documents, right? I won't load that up inside ChatGPT because if I got to get a password to it, that's not open up to the public. That could be opening me up to some some issues. But no, yeah, chat for the average person, most definitely. I think once you start using it more, you probably want to go to the $20 range because you can only get so many questions out of it. Then two, to dig a little deeper. I don't know if you get the 5.2 or if you just get the 5 for the free version. 5.2 for images, they added a lot of different context for their 5.2. So once again, I'm starting, and they have their codex too. I've been doing a lot of Python lately with data engineering, so I want to have it write Python code that I can just add to it. Once again, so I think for that you probably need to pay. But no, Jeffrey, just at a high level, I would definitely start off with the free to figure out if you like it and start getting comfortable with it. One of my favorite AI experts, he say AI is a tool. He says and each AI brand is good at different things. Like Claude is good at coding. So you could have Claude for one thing, ChatGPT, and each one of them is different. Like you would do something in Word that you wouldn't use in PowerPoint, that you wouldn't do in Excel. So he started talking about each one of those AIs is like a different product. And depending on what you needed, you would use different AIs for it. So he's kind of got me thinking in that realm. All right. So I start off with ChatGPT till I outmax it. Like I think I'm gonna do more coding. I don't think Codex is better than Claude at programming. So I probably, if I program as much as I want, I probably use Claude for more of those programming widgets because it's much better at it. Right? And it interacts better with VS Code and some other stuff. But once again, each AI is like a different tool, like a Word, WordPerfect, Excel, PowerPoint, Power BI. So once again, each one I try to use which tool is best for which job. I feel you on that sofa. I'm already there, and it's just 8:12. Facts on the 2026. I appreciate it. I'll probably be asleep, Larry. I usually wake up at 1:00 and then back up, like, hey, yeah. People that text me, I text them back. Where did Professor PBL come? Where are you? Okay, yeah. No, so I was professor at Ivy Tech College. It's community colleges in Indiana. They have 30,000 students. I taught intro to security, red team, compliance, and business law. Business law because I have an MBA, so somehow I got roped into teaching business law. So I was a professor. I used to do operations, and I'm kind of weird. Because I was the only black guy. I went around my clients calling myself black ops. I am black ops here to look at the operations of security. And my mentor is coming on. He's 10 years older than me. He's an older white guy. So he say black ops, and he would come behind me and go, I'm white ops. So I'm gonna interview white ops. So he taught me a lot again. So then I thought I was professor. So Professor Black Ops, that's how that came around. Um, that's how I kind of came up with that name. So cool. Thanks, PBO. Remember the film we're asking about using AI, but I thought it was a cost. Oh, no. Get that free version. I would use that free version. I would wear that free version out till it start asking me to pay. Because you only get so many searches. In the chat GBT, that's kind of my favorite one. I would pick the 2 or 3 of them out because they free. So you could do some on cloud for free, some on chat GPT for free, some on Copilot for free. So Jeffrey, I would spread that out. Then that cost too would you would figure out which one you like better. So I would pick those 3 out. They got free limits, so I would just spread my searches out on those. Then you can kind of feel which one you like better, depending on what type of project are you doing. No, that is incorrect. Shout out to they didn't like me, man. Students kept trying to tell me what to do. I'm like, no, I don't let students tell me what to do. That's never gonna happen. Never ever. So no, shout out to them. So I'm thinking about reapplying. They're looking for cloud guys, and I have some of the unique AWS cloud certs. So there's a bigger universities here that I might see if I can start teaching again at night. I enjoy it. That is incorrect. That would be more of an older thing to me. So PBL is usually not kind of picked for those squeaky clean procedural type things. I usually don't get those, but I am perfectly fine with that. Once again, I want to appreciate everybody for joining me. I'm out. That is incorrect. That is incorrect. I'm out. Hopefully everybody have a nice holiday. Come check me out. You should see the notification come out. I'll probably get that out there. See, since it's right after holiday, I'll probably do something society-wise. I like they were showing the FFA when you fly to certain states in the United States, they send that information to ICE. From a societal standpoint, I thought that was very interesting, as in government oversight. So I'm thinking about talking about that on Friday. I don't know if that's too heavy to start off the new year. Once again, I want to appreciate everybody for joining. I appreciate you, AB. I'm out. Everybody have a nice holiday. I'm going to go get this pop I shouldn't be getting so I can stay up a little longer. I'm out. Once again, everybody have a nice holiday, nice new year, and a nice